Welcome to the Polish Podcast, where we embolden women to live out their faith in every aspect of their life, including the workplace. I'm your host, Jane Doerman, and I am thrilled to have you with us today. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button to join our community of ambitious women who are committed to growing in their leadership and faith. At Polish Network, we believe your work is more than just a job. It's a calling. We're here to provide the connections you crave, development you deserve, and the gospel that you need to thrive. Each episode features inspiring conversations with women who are leading with their faith in the workplace. And our goal is to ignite your passion and equip you to lead with wisdom and courage. So let's jump in to today's episode. There's something special that happens when two paths converge. When two missions, born out of separate passions and experiences, find a way to come together. It's rare, it's powerful, and it's more than just a merger. It's the beginning of something bigger. And today, we're stepping out of our regular programming to share a story about collaboration, gratitude, and the bold step we're about to take together. A few short weeks ago at the Boldly Conference 2024, we announced a shift. One that's been quietly in the works for some time, but it's finally ready to be shared with all of you. It's big news, guys, something we believe will lead to a greater impact for women everywhere. Starting in January 2025, the Polish Network will be joining forces with Forward Women, merging our missions and expanding our reach to empower even more women in their faith and their work. Today, I have the privilege of introducing the woman at the helm of this new chapter, Melissa Harrison, Executive Director and President of Forward, and soon-to-be leader of this united network. Melissa's leadership journey has been driven by a commitment to guide, inspire, and foster a meaningful community for women balancing work and faith. Her work centers on creating spaces where women can thrive, where their voices are valued, where lives are transformed through the mission of Forward. This mission of empowering women is a thread woven throughout Melissa's entire journey, drawing on her early experiences in broadcast journalism.
For me, it's so amazing now to see that it was exactly 20 years ago that the Lord called me to New York City to do a graduate program at Columbia University. My background is in broadcast journalism, and I've always loved storytelling and being able to really shine light in places where there was darkness, to be a voice for the voiceless, really drawn to storytelling from an early age. And when I moved to New York in 2004, I was going to get a master's degree in journalism at Columbia and ended up working for NBC News there. Really, the whole trajectory was really from a position of just a professional journey. But what happened when I was there is that there was an incredible group of women leaders that were meeting in this very small group in Midtown Manhattan. Really, I was meeting such incredible women. I was like, you need to know so-and-so. You know, when you meet somebody and then you've just met somebody else and you're like, I need to connect these two. Or
Yes.
Find that opportunity. And so through this small group, it really was a beautiful example of what it looks like when women come together. And these were women at the top of their game. A lot of them, you know, one of them was a partner at Goldman Sachs. Another was a principal ballerina at the New York City Ballet.
Wow.
Another was a news anchor on Fox News. There was this, you know, top of the game professionally, but really hungry for true, authentic community. And I had come out of a season of my life, probably the darkest season that I've been in, when I had gone through a real tragedy in my mid-20s and lost my mom in a very tragic way. And I was not in a really great place with the Lord. I wasn't really trusting God in all areas of my life, but in His grace, you know, and the way He just is so sufficient for us and provides for us, He gave me this beautiful group of women. And so it's kind of a long answer to your story, or your question. But for me, it was that group that just showed me what can happen if women leaders really do come together and have this authentic community. When I was there, we had that group, and then it ended up where we were planning a retreat for us. And we surveyed women leaders just to find out if other people might want to join us for the retreat and to find out what women wanted. And the responses were really interesting. Women said they didn't want fluff. They didn't want cheesy. They didn't want a lot of pink. They wanted really authentic New Yorkers, right?
Yes, yes.
Ask them what they want. They'll tell you what they don't want. And I'm
yes.
New Yorkers, they just shoot it straight.
I love that.
But what I saw there, and we ended up planning this weekend for them, and almost overnight, into the next 2.5 weeks, the hotel called us back and said that we had sold out the hotel, and over 350 women were joining us from 26 states. And so, Jane, as you can imagine, we were like, wait, what? This was not part of our plan. We were not looking to start an organization or to plan a big event, but God obviously showed us that we had tapped into a need. And so that's when it became so clear to me that I was called and really felt led to this work of uniting, bringing women leaders together, helping them go deeper with the Lord, deeper in relationship with one another. And it was really beautiful because for me, spiritually, it was a lifesaver. It really carried me through a dark time in a way that was very deep and intentional. And it was a way for me to really reconcile, I think, some of the deep questions of my soul of where is God when, bad things happen to good people, and where is God in our suffering? And it was through community that I was really shown that. And I met Diane Pattison on an airplane right around that time. I sat next to her on a flight, and she was talking on the phone about women in the workplace leadership. And she hung up the phone, and I said, okay, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to be eavesdropping, but who are you?
Yes.
What do you do? And she said, my name's Diane Pattison. She said, I've just written this book, Work, Love, Pray, and am launching an organization called Forward next year to really bring women around these issues. And so really a divine connection there on the airplane.
As Melissa reflects on her journey, it becomes clear how God has been intricately weaving a story of purpose throughout her life. From her early days in broadcast journalism to her leadership with Forward, divine connections surfaced at just the right moments, guiding her mission and expanding her impact. Some encounters were powerful affirmations of her calling, like meeting the founder of Forward, each a stepping stone laid in God's timing. And then there was a missed connection, one she didn't realize would matter as much as it would. A brief crossing of paths with Polish Network's co-founder, Kat Armstrong. Though they didn't connect then, it was a glimpse of the divine foreshadowing of something far greater on the horizon.
I was looking up to send an email to Kat Armstrong as we've been talking through this merger. And I looked up her email address on my Gmail account, and up popped an email from 2008. Now, I had met Diane in 2010, but in 2008, there was a woman in Dallas who knew both Kat and I. And there was an email introduction where she was sending it to Kat and I, both saying, you two need to know each other. You two have a similar heart and passion for women leaders, and you're both working in this space. I think there needs to be, a connection made. Unfortunately, neither of us responded to that email. I guess we were both just so busy, because the woman did make a comment like, you're both so busy. I know it's unlikely. And neither of us responded, but it's even seeing that connection.
Yeah.
That there was an alignment. And in hindsight now, what I see is that, we had this group in New York was called Pure. God was moving powerfully, drawing women leaders together. And then in Dallas, here's Kat Armstrong starting Polished and that starting together, God on the Move. And then Diane Pattison, who's between Portland, Oregon and Dallas at that same time, finishing up the halftime program and launching now into looking at what's God calling her to in her new season. Forward is being birthed. But before it even was, God placed us on the airplane next to each other. So it just shows that it's so much bigger than any of these organizations. Even it's God's hand at work in the lives of women leaders and uniting us together. And so it's really fun now to just see how it does tie together.
Looking back, Melissa's leadership journey is filled with Easter eggs, subtle yet significant moments that, though they seemed small at the time, were ultimately guiding her towards something much bigger. Each role she's held, every pivotal connection, and even those missed moments were pieces of a larger story God was weaving in her life. These moments have now led her to this powerful juncture where Polished and Forward are coming together. And for Melissa, there's one thing she's certain about in this new season.
I think what is so exciting, Jane, is, again, even as we're reflecting on God's hand over all these years, is just seeing God in it. As we looked at coming together, it was just, really an exploratory phase. We were all kind of, holding loosely. Let's see. We don't want to do something that doesn't make sense or doesn't seem like the right fit. Let's be sure to engage our board members and people who are very invested and in our organizations. And so each step we took, I think what was really beautiful is it was led from a place of humility and collaboration and truly a desire to discover, are we better? Would we be better together? Could we serve women better together? Does it make sense for us to not compete, but really, to complete each other? And what I loved is seeing the puzzle pieces fitting together. So there were certain needs that Polished had and certain needs that Forward had, and seeing how God was bringing us together was really, I loved that because there wasn't a lot of duplication. It really was a completion. And now just thinking through, what does that look like, and what is God doing? And really, as he's put all of this together, just seeing that, what is he up to? What is the purpose of this? What does he have in store for us next? It's so exciting for me to just even think about, because I know that he's going to do immeasurably more than we could ever hope or imagine. I truly believe we are just seeing like the scratching of the surface of what potential is there and what is to come. It really is incredible to see just his hand at work, even over the past few months as we've gotten to this point.
As we take in Melissa's story, it's clear this is not just a merger. It's the beginning of something with lasting impact, guided by a purpose greater than ourselves. After the break, we'll dive into what's next, the vision Melissa has for this new united chapter of Polished and Forward, and what this powerful partnership means for women everywhere striving to live out their faith and purpose. So stay with us. You won't want to miss what's ahead. Are you looking to grow as a leader while connecting with like-minded women in your area? It's time for you to discover the monthly Polished chapter gatherings. At Polished, we're on a mission to embolden women in their faith and work. Our gatherings are designed for women just like you, driven professionals who seek connection, development, and the truth of the gospel. Each meeting features inspiring guests, opportunities to share experiences, and meaningful connections with others who share your values. It's more than a gathering. It's a community of support and growth. Whether you're looking to enhance your professional skills, deepen your faith, or simply connect with others on a similar journey, Polished chapter gatherings offer the connection you crave, the development you deserve, and the gospel-centered encouragement you need. Visit polishednetwork.org/chapters to find a chapter near you and join us for the next gathering. Together, let's grow, inspire, and lead with purpose. At the heart of Polished Network is a spirit of collaboration, a belief that we are stronger when we work together. And as we move further into this merger with Forward, it's become even more clear. We don't compete. Rather, we complete each other. This partnership is about combining strengths, amplifying our mission, and creating a united community that empowers women in ways we could not do alone.
One thing I'll tell you too that is really so exciting for us at Forward is the heart and the DNA of Polished and the Polished Network. The depth, the intentionality, just the way that Polished serves the women in your organization, the heart of those who are on staff. I mean, so much of what we have felt like, some from both a spiritual and very practical standpoint, ways that we believe the Lord is going to expand and is drawing forward, calling us to go deeper, to go to a place where we can really serve women even better. Polished, the DNA of who Polished is, combined with our mission and vision, the two of us coming together, I really see it almost like a grafting of bringing in and grafting together, and that is stronger together. So Forward is so blessed by and excited to welcome in the women of Polished into just our organization as we come together to be able to say, we really believe that what Polished has is something that's going to make Forward even more impactful and stronger, to serve women and to draw them, deeper into their relationship with the Lord and one another. But it's just exciting for us to see who you all are, and coming together is really such a gift for us.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you sharing that. That is something I have appreciated about Polished, is just the intentionality of integrating the spiritual in our workplaces and really our whole lives. Like, that's just the theme I keep walking away the longer I work in this faith and workspace, is how important it is to bring our whole selves to every sphere of influence that we're in. I've lived that segregated life of just like living in siloing my life, and it is exhausting. I don't want to go back to that. I want to be able to bring my whole self. And I feel like Polished and Forward are providing those spaces for women to just come and show up and take that deep breath. Like, okay, these are my people. Like, this is where I can be my whole self and not be ashamed of it. Right. And it's welcomed. And that's what I see, through the work that you all are doing through Forward and what we're doing at Polish. And I'm just excited to see where we're going together as we move forward in the future. And, speaking of which, could you share with us a little bit about, the vision of like where we're going together? How do you envision both organizations coming together? How that's going to benefit this community as a whole? Maybe even get into some like practical things, like the structural things, if you will. Like what will that look like? Or what's your vision?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, right now we're putting together kind of our strategic operating plan for the year ahead. And, whenever I first came into this position, even before I was offered the position, when I was praying about this executive director role at Forward, I really felt like the Lord made it very clear to me that the idea that ministry really starts at the top, and you need to pour into your team. And then really this vision of kind of pouring into those local leaders, because the local leaders are the ones those are the boots on the ground. That is the front door of our ministry. That is where we're doing life with women. And it's so critical that those groups are supported well. And I know for Polish, that's the Polish chapters, and at Forward, that's been called community groups. And what we're really looking at right now is kind of this time of transition, really getting with our leaders and talking with them about what is it that this is an opportunity, this change and transition is an opportunity to say to them, how are things working well? How could we serve you better? Yeah. And what would be really like kind of your vision as a local leader? What do you see that as a way that we could elevate our outreach to women in your community? And so the number one goal on our strategic goals and vision for next year is really strengthening and supporting our local leaders. And so between now and year end, getting face to face with as many of them as we can, or joining the groups virtually, sitting and listening well to what and how we can be stronger together in this area. And then really looking at putting in the structure in place so that it's very clear what our offerings are. And we don't want to come and disrupt what is working well. I know Polished has incredible groups. And I know I was able to visit the one in Oklahoma City a couple of months ago. I actually have a very dear friend who's a part of that community. And she's always, said, even before I took this role, she's like, what's up with Forward and Polish? You definitely need to come and visit. This group's amazing. So my friend Brittany had me there meeting with Jana and Jessica, and visiting that group. So I think like there's so much that we have to share with each other about what works well and how we can really take that and implement it across for both organizations. But that's one of the key things for us. We are doing a road show that's starting next week. I'll be traveling with Catherine Gates in Northwest Arkansas and meeting with people in the faith and work community there. And then some women that I know from a previous role that I had, really exploring like, how do we build that group or really strengthen the groups that are there? And then we have women in Virginia, we have Detroit, Grand Rapids, New York City, Atlanta, Philadelphia. So really just that local community group, just being able to connect with those leaders and support them. And our vision really is to be able to bring them together in our operational plan that early in the year, hopefully in Q1, if not then early in Q2, that we can bring those key local leaders together for an in-person retreat and time of training and just pour into them to make sure that they're filled up so they're not operating out of a place of depletion. But also as we come together to be on one team, that we really understand together, like where are we and where are we going? And Catherine Gates is going to be leading that local community group programming. And I'm so excited to have Catherine, who knows the polished organization so well, knows women in the marketplace, and other roles that she's had before. She just has such an incredible gifting in that area. So I love that she's going to be a part of helping to really craft that moving forward. So that's our number one, is that local. And then our second is really looking at, we have a lot of women in our organization that are at that kind of growing in their leadership at that more senior level. And we have a thing called the Executive Women for Christ Forum, where we bring those women together. And so we will be in 2025 continuing to build in that community, but creating some space for them to connect. It's interesting. It's twofold, Jane. They really need to be at a table with people who understand some of the challenges that leader at that level faces, but also those women are hungry and eager to pour in to the women coming up behind them. So really this bridge between that group of women and the ones in our local communities or in our collaboratories, which we will continue the collaboratories moving forward that Polished has established and continue to grow those. But that executive women group as well, we're really pouring into them. And then third is looking at our digital content and how can we expand and really connect with women around the world at that digital level. So that's going to be fun. I'm excited to have you as part of our team to work with us, and Jordan Johnstone, who's been on our team, for us to really explore together, what does that look like across the board, and really how can we create content that's engaging and that is impacting our culture. There's so much noise online, as we all know, on social media.
Yep.
So much out there. It's scary, some of the stuff we see, but we need to put the good, positive content there too. And so the local leaders building and continuing to pour into our executive women, and then also just really expanding and growing our digital reach. Those are our main focuses. It's big, it's a lot, but we feel like God's given us some very specific ways that we can do all of those things well. And I think more than anything, it's just creating space for the women who are part of Polished and part of Forward to really come together in a way that doesn't feel forced, but is very inviting. And I believe, again, that this is so much more than even about Polished and Forward. I believe this is really a movement for such a time as this, that God is bringing women leaders, Christian women leaders together. And we need to just together explore, where is he moving and how is he calling us to participate in what he's doing. And I'm just grateful that we get to kind of have a seat at that table, that he's inviting us into it, because it feels like it is so much bigger than we could put into a strategic plan or goals. I think it's most importantly staying close to him, so we really understand where and how is he leading us, and that we will hear that voice and follow so closely.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing like your priority list, because yes, it is a lot. And, we trust God's guidance through it, and we trust in his provision for it. Right. And we're praying. I know you're prayerful woman. So is Catherine. So is both teams, really just praying like, God, show us, the next step. And what I appreciate and what I hear you saying as you went through these different priorities, because when, this is my second merger that I've personally gone through, and it is so easy being the organization that's, coming under the umbrella of another organization as you're merging. It's very easy to like have that grip, or, I think it's human nature just to be like, oh no, what are you going to take from us? Or what are you, and that's not what's happening here. It's like, it's a very intentional, I liked how you said it, like, let's see what works. What is working within the Polish Network community, and how can that translate with what Forward does, and vice versa? What is working in the Forward community, and how can that both bridge it together and like make this greater impact together? Like that is like our buzzword, together. We are coming together. It's not a takeover, we are mutually moving forward. Boldly unified is another phrase that we've been using too since we made the announcement, Boldly Conference. And I guess just hearing that and just hearing the intentionality, it settles me into this space of, okay, like this is a place where I can be heard. This is a place where we can show what we're doing, what's working in our communities, because I feel like our reach is expanding dramatically, especially as a result of this merger, right? Like it's expanding who we're reaching, correct?
Right. Expanding the territory. One thing we did, Jane, is we took a look at the list. And that was something that when Amy Cedrone and I were talking through this and exploring with our teams, we thought, well, let's just take a look at who is Polish serving and who is Forward serving, and really compare, because maybe we're serving the same people. Let's look how many duplicates or how much overlap there is. And it was so amazing because when we took the two lists and put them together, it was wild to see that out of 18,000 women, only 98 were duplicates, which really was kind of that aha moment for us that, wow, by coming together, we really can expand our territory. That was the sense. I think Amy even texted me like, this is like our territory expanding. This is like a small city,
Yeah.
How much could that impact the world? And one thing too, for even our donors, it's really this space. There are people, and many of those 98 people were ones who are passionate about this space. But when a donor has to decide or sponsor, do I give to Polish or do I give to Forward? And they're dividing their resources, and we're both trying to do similar things. By coming together, we also the impact that's elevated for those donors and sponsors is they're able to reach more women and more people through their dollars of support. So
sure,
it's exciting. It is. I know change is hard, and there's some of us that can deal with it. It's funny. I have a really high tolerance for change, and ambiguity, almost that I have friends who are like, wow, you can really deal with sitting in the space of unknown, where a lot of people. Now, I did marry an entrepreneur, so that served our family well, because there's a lot that's unknown in the entrepreneurial space, and you have to on a day-to-day basis in that. So God knows what he's doing, but I do think that what's really beautiful about change, even though it can be uncomfortable, is number one, knowing that God is with us. I mean, knowing that God has orchestrated this, that I don't think either boards of directors would have approved something they did not truly feel like was for the betterment of the organization, because of their governance and their responsibility. I know the Forward board and everything I can see from the Polish board, they are so thoughtful and led by prayer that if this was not of God, I think it would have become clear. So us in the space now of following him and knowing, okay, he's in it first and foremost. And number two, I think we really will be better together. I think on the other side of the discomfort and just kind of finding the footing, is going to be this place where we look back and say, wow, God really blessed us in that time by bringing us together, because look at what we would not have been able to do separately. And so Yeah, it's a time for growth and it's stretching us all, but it's just really exciting for me to think about, again, most importantly, the women, even the ones listening right now to this podcast who've been a part of the Polish Network and wonder, wait a second, I don't even know Forward. Or maybe you do know Forward, but you didn't see yourself as a part of Forward.
Sure.
I will say God is doing a new thing. God is doing a new thing in this season. And just in his word, where it talks about, like, do you not see it? Behold, I'm doing a new thing. Do not fixate on the former things. And it doesn't mean that we don't appreciate where there's so much from Kat Armstrong and her faithfulness to this organization and her being led by prayer and her teaching and her biblical knowledge and her love for women. That is not going away. That is a part of the DNA of Polished. And that is something that we celebrate and it's something that we welcome. And I believe Forward's going to be so blessed by all of the history that's being inherited. But it truly is. And we want to steward that well, so well. So we want to hear from you. We want to be with you. We want to listen to you. We want to understand what is important to you, what is most critical for you during this time of transition. And so whether that's, we're going to have this roadshow that's going to be published to both organizations where you could see like where we're going to be when. If we are in your area, I would love to meet you. I would love for you to come. If we're not, we're going to have some Q&A opportunities virtually just to get to know you and for you to get to know us, because I think that's so important, that it's beyond just an email or a newsletter, but really a relationship connection. So that's going to be really important to us. And then for Forward, we are in a time of transition as well. I think both organizations coming into this merger were already in a place of disruption. So while there were some really amazing things in the past, both were in a time of change. And I think that was also a place where we realized, wait a second, Forward's already thinking about how we might restructure our local community group outreach. We're already imagining how our digital reach can be expanded and enhanced. So we're already in that place of change and transformation. So by coming together, we can lean into that together and create new together. So I'm really excited about just seeing how God's going to continue to put the pieces together. And I'm excited to be able to work with you, Jane, and with Catherine Gates and with Robin, just to really together prayerfully, collaboratively think about where might God be calling us to go next, and how do we get there in a way that honors him and uses our gifts for his glory. And, I think it's going to be really exciting to see how it all comes to fruition.
I love that, Melissa. And I'm going to echo that invitation to our listeners. We want to hear from you. We're not just giving lip service here. It's like, hey, we want to know what's working, what's not, what you love about the Polish Network and how that can be translated into this merger. We invite you to these roadshow stops. If you are in the area, we will have those posted on our website. I believe we're going to include that in all our communications going out to the Polish Network. So be on the lookout for those. Show up. And if you can't make it to a roadshow stop, sign up for one of the virtual Q&As. I mean, we need you to show up. That is what we are asking you to do. And so, yes, join us in this journey as we move forward together, because we can't do it without you. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's where the fun is too. I love when we can really spend time, even here in the DFW area. I mean, obviously as an executive director, there are a lot of administrative and fundraising and all the things that are really critical in this role. But my favorite part, the time that I just feel so filled up, is when I can go be with one of our local groups and really get to know the women we serve, because that is our why. That's why we are here. For those who are listening even right now, you are why we are here. You are why we exist, is to help serve you. And so for us to understand what your needs are is so important, so that we serve you well.
Yes.
And it's a really exciting time too. If you've not really plugged in yet, maybe you've been listening and you haven't yet really plugged into a local, or maybe you used to be involved and you haven't been recently. This is a great invitation to just re-engage or to become engaged. because I know the women of Forward, I will tell you, Jane, they are excited about the collaboration. I think they were really excited about, just the idea of the new. And so that's going to be wonderful to see our women coming together and getting to be together.
Yes, it certainly is. I witnessed that at our breakfast. We had a Forward Polish Network leadership breakfast after the Boldly conference, and just the women that showed up from Forward. Like the one woman, I believe she was a community group leader, and she's like, "Well, let's just invite you to our next gathering that's next week." And it was just really cool. Like, it made me go, man, I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I wish I could go. Like,
well, that was so funny because she was. That's Brenna Smith, who's our leader in Dallas. But I could tell when we were talking, like Brenna was like itching to say something, and I'm like, "Hey, Brenna, do you have something to say?" She popped up. She's like, "Well, I just think exactly what you just said. I just want to invite everybody to come." I'm like, "Well, that's great. That's exactly the heart of what and where we are." And I think that's what's really exciting too, is just for people to be able to get to know each other and see the heart too, because that is our local. When I see somebody like Brenna and that passion, and then I believe you may have met Ashley Lindsay, who was there, and several others that were there, but the fact that they are really passionate about this space and serving working women and creating community. And so for every woman who's a part of Polish, they are going to be arms wide open from the women of Forward to just welcome you in. But we want to come alongside and understand too, there's some amazing things happening in the Polish community.
Yeah.
So for us to be able to be a part of that and invite our women in, and there are very few cities that overlap. I mean, DFW is one that we have groups in the same city, but other than that, there's really not. And it's just so much opportunity.
Yeah, there's lots of opportunity, and we're just really excited to see where God leads us all as we move forward in this journey together. As we head into this break, get ready for a delightful twist on a fan favorite segment. When we return, it's time for the Ask Me Anything questionnaire. And this time, we're turning up the fun. Instead of just 3 questions, we have a series of quick-fire queries lined up to help us fully get to know our new powerhouse leader, Melissa. It's going to be whimsical, lighthearted, and a great way to uncover the essence of who she really is. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss this fun ride. Are you a working woman looking to elevate your leadership this year? Polish Collaboratories could be your next right step in moving forward in your leadership development. Polish Collaboratories are small groups modeled after executive peer groups, yet available to working women at all levels of leadership. Collaboratory members dive into leadership training with a faith-forward perspective for 12 months. This is your opportunity to tap into diverse perspectives, conquer challenges, and achieve your goals in a united sisterhood. New groups are launching in 2024. We want you to be a part of it. So go to polishnetwork.org/collaboratories to learn more. Well, welcome back, friends, to the Polish Podcast. We hope you're enjoying today's discussion with today's guest, Melissa Harrison. Now, as we continue to embrace the power of connection and community, it's time for a little fun and introspection. It's time for a twist on an old favorite, the Ask Me Anything questionnaire. So, Melissa, we believe that to lead well, you must both know and be known. So we've got a series of quick-fire questions that will help us unpack the very essence of who you are. You'll only have a few seconds to answer each question, and at the end of the questions, we will know you better as a person and our new powerhouse leader. Are you ready to be known?
I think so. Yes.
Everybody seems to go like with some trepidation. I am. Yes. So I think you'll be able to handle this. It is more than our usual 3, but just go with your gut when it comes first top of mind to you. So question 1, what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Oh, this is bad. I checked my phone.
It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay. What about question 2? Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Oh, really? How do you take your tea?
I just pretty much just black tea and, flavor it with some stevia. But I worked the morning show in television news for years and I never drank coffee.
Never.
Yeah. 2:30 a.m. wake up call, never drank coffee, but I definitely have a lot of tea and iced tea as well during the day. Yeah.
Yeah. So you prefer black tea, no green tea, no, just
sometimes green or peppermint or something, but a lot of times, with fully caffeinated. Yes.
Yes. Well, that's awesome. Honestly, I did not expect that. So that's really cool. I learned something new. If you could have lunch with any woman from history, who would it be?
Oh gosh, that is a good question. I do really love Eleanor Roosevelt, so many of her quotes and just the woman she was, especially during that time of history. I think it would be fascinating just to hear from her perspective, all that she saw during her lifetime. And, but I love just reading about her and so much of her inspiring words that she has shared that we keep, as inspirational quotes now.
Yeah, for sure. She was a special lady. Mm-hmm. Yes. What is a favorite TV show or movie that you just love to watch? Do you have one?
I don't watch a lot of TV.
Okay.
We have 3 young kids, so a lot of time is with managing them. But I'm a journalist, and so I really enjoy great, well-told long form storytelling. So I really 60 Minutes, often has been one that I've really enjoyed some of the journalism from there that they've done. Or anytime there's a biography, or big sucker for nonfiction too. I love true stories. I think there's so much of really is that saying, truth is stranger than fiction. Like, I just think there's so many amazing true stories out there. So I always love if it's a movie or documentary or, a short story on a show. I love to be able to hear people's real life true stories. So I'm a big fan of that.
Okay, cool. Describe your leadership style in one word.
Collaborative.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good word. We like collaborative. What is one thing that you cannot live without at work?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, definitely, gosh, Zoom for sure. So much now that we do is virtual meetings. So I don't know how we would make the connections we do now without being able to use Zoom. But also love the task function on the Google Calendar, keeping track. Also very important.
Yeah. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think that, probably I'm thinking of my mom was such a great, she was such a great example for me, but always just that sense of, you need to be able to work hard. Like you can't expect things to just come easily, but really the work ethic was something that growing up was really instilled in me as if you want something, you work hard for it. And so it doesn't just magically happen. I think there's a lot of times today, and I do teach actually at the collegiate level, and it's hard both as a professor and as a parent to know how do you instill work ethic. I think it's really hard nowadays to understand, like, how do you really get that in there? So for me to be able to help both my kids and students understand that things that, that if you want something, you have to be willing to work to help achieve it. And of course, for us in the faith and workspace, it's following the Lord's leading and knowing at the end of the day, it's not all up to us, but being willing to do our part. I think is so critical.
That's good. That's good. What's one book you think every working woman should read?
Well, there's Work, Love, Pray by Diane Pattison.
It's a good one. I've read it. Yeah.
I think it is actually really good.
If you could instantly master one skill, what would it be?
I would love to be a culinary expert chef. I mean, my mom, I grew up in a home where she was incredible. I'm adopted, so I argue that I didn't get the gene. That's the only excuse I really have, but I just feel like the way to people's hearts. So often I grew up in a home where it was through the stomach, and I miss, the elaborate meals and things that she would put together. I wish I could just master that skill quickly.
That's good. That's good. Behind me is my list or my cookbook collection. I like to cook too, so that's awesome. What is a Bible verse that has been significant in your leadership journey?
Romans 8:28 is just kind of my verse that I go to, just that all things work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes. And I love just seeing how God can work all things together for good, even the messy. So as a leader, that's so helpful and so promising for me, is just to know that God's in it, and that when we're following him, he can work it all out for good. Even the parts that you're not sure where and how that part is going to come into play, that God can bring it together in such a masterful way.
Oh, that's so good. And my final question for you is, if you had a theme song that played every time you entered a room, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. Oh, wow. That is good. My daughter just had this for her softball team. They had to choose a song that was.
Are you serious?
A bat song. Gosh, I mean, this may be just more of where I am right now. It's not.
Sure.
It's definitely not like a pump you up song, but I love that song, "The Goodness of God." Just seeing
that's a good one.
Because it's like whatever circumstance you find yourself in, but just knowing that, like, from the time as a child, all the days of my life, I've lived in the goodness of God. It really helps. If I can listen to that before any meeting or event or something going on with the family, then it's just such a way to, like, just remind and level set that God is with us. And so I do love that one. But, our family listens to it. My son plays football, so we've got a lot of, like, Eye of the Tiger.
Yes.
So, if I need, like, a day where I really need some energy, maybe something a little more upbeat. But the theme of the song, goodness,
yes,
definitely.
That's a great song. I empathize with that feeling. Like, my brain will go places when I hear the goodness of God, of just like the hard places that he's brought me out of and the seasons that he's walked me through, and just, we know that he is good. And that's why I still follow him anyway, even when circumstances are not right. So, well, Melissa, I really appreciate you for letting us get to know you better through this fun questionnaire. And here's the thing, friends, to lead well, we must understand ourselves and each other. And as we embark on this exciting new chapter with the merger of Forward and the Polish Network, we know you have questions. We encourage you to visit our Boldly Unified webpage, where you'll find all the FAQs about this transition and what it means for you. You can do that by heading over to polishnetwork.org/come-together to check out the Boldly Unified page today, and feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have. We cannot wait to move forward with you. Breaking news, friends. A new era for women in the workplace is here. For decades, Forward and Polish Network have empowered working women to serve God and each other. And today we are thrilled to announce a groundbreaking merger that will amplify our impact and change the game for women everywhere. Together, we are creating one powerful organization dedicated to serving women at every level of their professional journey. Whether you're a leader, an executive, or just starting out, this merger means more resources, more mentorship opportunities, and more ways for you to plug in and embrace your God-given potential with confidence. There is a place for you at this table. This new chapter invites you to share your stories, your gifts, and your voice as we build a vibrant community where collaboration and connection thrive. Get excited about this extensive reach that we're going to have for women all over the country. And we invite you to join us on this journey. Visit polishnetwork.org/come-together to learn more and stay updated on this exciting transition. So as we embark on this new journey together, Melissa, how can our listeners best support the mission and vision of this newly merged organization in the coming year?
Yeah, I think just it would be incredible, like we've talked about, Jane, for people to just engage. Let us hear from you. Come together with us. It is a coming together. And I think the invitation there is just that everyone has a seat at the table. So we can't do it without you. We really can't go to where God's calling us to go to without your voice, without your presence, without your input. And with just who you are. I believe God's calling women together in a new way. So definitely invite everyone to come with us along on this journey.
Yes, I echo that. We want you to join us. We want you to show up. That is just the key thing for you to do, listeners, to show up and share your piece of the polished or forward story so that as we come together, we can move forward and best serve the women in our community in that way. Melissa, as we wrap things up, how can our listeners connect with you or Forward or any of the things involving the merger? Where can we go?
Yeah, so you can follow us on social media, Forward Women, the number 4, and wordwomen.org is our website. There's a page on there, Come Together. I know that's also on the Polished website, which has just some basic details about the merger, FAQs for both organizations. They're very similar, a little bit tweaked and tailored for that specific organization and questions women might have. But definitely, go there, read more about it. Of course, we would love to have you on any of our cities that we're going on this road show. So check out that list of cities and places. We may have already been where you are, but hopefully we've not missed you. So please check out that list and be able to connect with us there. And, anytime we would love to welcome you in. We're going to have a couple of our things on the roadshow are going to be virtual. So keep an eye out for that as well, because if you can't join us in person, you can hop on virtually. And I am just available for people who want to chat more about the merger or things that you think are really important that I, as the leader, need to know about Polished, about things that are really important to this organization. So you can always reach me on social media at Melissa Harrison. My email address is melissa@forwardwomen.org. So, but go to social media and you'll be able to find it or come to our website. We'd love to connect with you.
Excellent. And we will make sure all of those are linked in our show notes for this episode. So we will direct you accordingly in that way. But Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today, sharing more about who you are and your story and just where God's leading us in the future. So we're really excited to be joining forces with you.
Thank you, Jane. And it's so fun to be on the podcast. I love listening to it. You do a great job. So thank you for having me.
As we wrap up today's inspiring conversation, it is clear that the merger between Polished Network and Forward is not just a joining of organizations, but a powerful collaboration that will create even greater impact for women of faith. We've heard how God has intricately woven Melissa's story, guiding her to this pivotal moment, and we are excited to see how this partnership will unfold. If you'd like to learn more about our boldly unified mission and how you can get involved, visit our info page at polishednetwork.org/come together. Thank you for joining us today, and we invite you to join the journey with us as we embolden women to lead boldly and authentically. Do you have a takeaway or a question from today's conversation? If so, let us know. Share your thoughts for this episode on our Instagram post, or if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and jump in the comments below. Let's continue this dialogue on leading gratefully. As we wrap up this episode, I want to express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who plays a role in making the Polish podcast a reality. The Polish podcast is made possible in part by the generous support of Coca-Cola Consolidated. Thank you, Melissa Harrison, for humbly leading us into the next chapter of emboldening women in their faith and work. We cannot wait to see what God does in this new season. To our loyal listeners, your unwavering support and engagement drive us to deliver content that resonates and emboldens. Thank you, Polished Network, for creating a nurturing community where women in the workforce can thrive and connect. A big thank you to White Oak Christian Church for their partnership and contributions to the production of these episodes. As we look ahead to this new chapter, it's clear that God is orchestrating something remarkable. This merger is not just a strategic move. It's a divine calling for women leaders to unite and work together in faith.
God is bringing women leaders, Christian women leaders together. And we need to just together explore, where is he moving and how is he calling us to participate in what he's doing?
So if you're wondering what God's next move is, it might just be time to seek out a Forward community group or a Polish chapter near you. Because where 2 or 3 are gathered, you can bet there will be some divine collaboration in the making. If you're seeking a supportive community for your faith and work journey, I'd love to encourage you to join us on social media and our YouTube channel. Stay updated with our latest content by liking, subscribing, and taking a moment to rate and review the Polish Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Your engagement means a lot, and it helps us create content that is meaningful for you. Until next time, this is Jane Doerman signing off. Keep moving forward and stay emboldened.